good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this virtual learning exchange for CTI-CFF under the EU Ocean Governance Project. So we are really glad to have all of you attending the first session, and we will proceed with the opening. But first of all, just let me remind few logistical issues that are very important for a good development of our meeting. The first is please, for all participants, we will really appreciate if you can just rename the name that appears under your image, rename and put the name followed by the name of the institution. This will help us to identify when you ask the floor for the debate time. You can do the change if you go next to your image, there are 3 little points up to the right of the screen. You press there, and in some place you can find the name, rename. You press there, and then you can adapt and put the right identification for you. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that we are all in the same system. So there is not a separate system for speakers, a separate system for people attending the session. But and you are welcome during the debate part of our session to ask questions or to provide inputs. But please don't do it by the chat, because we are having simultaneous translation to Spanish, French, and Bahasa Indonesia. So in order to really facilitate the translation of the questions, we really need that you are talking, we are speaking, not just writing, because we cannot manage everything. So please avoid those questions in the chat. Just press the button in which you can just raise your hand, and we will manage to give you the floor. You will be unmuted until the moment in which you are allowed to have the floor to put a question. So that's all in terms of logistics. Just let's proceed with the opening. And now I'm glad. The first thing is to give the floor to Mr. Gustav Lumiu. Mr. Gustav Lumiu, he's the Deputy Executive Director of Corporate Services of CTI-CFF. So, Mr. Lumiu, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon. This is welcoming remarks supposed to be delivered by Dr. Muhammad Kuzari bin Muhammad Rajuddin, the Executive Director of CTI-CFF Regional Secretariat. I represent him to deliver this remark. Distinguished participants, NCC delegation members, working group members, CTI-CFF strategic partners, CTI-CFF university partnership, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your place there. I would like to warmly welcome you to this virtual learning exchange under the EU Ocean Governance Project, an activity organized by the European Union, WWF, and the CTI-CFF Regional Secretariat. We are pleased to be partnering with EU and WWF in this notable activity, which aims to advance a process leading to enhanced cooperation of MPA in and between the Atlantic and Southeast Asian region, and to contribute to the effective management of MPAs as well. CTI-CFF has always valued the importance of marine protected areas as an important tool for conserving marine biodiversity and sustaining critical fisheries and other marine resources. To protect a certain species, rare and or critical habitat, restore depleted species, to protect full ecosystem, to benefit fisheries management, spawning, and nursing grounds for fish. Acknowledging the importance of MPAs, the CTI-CFF has the Marine Protected Area Working Group to help implement Goal 3 of CTI-CFF Regional Plan of Action, which is to ensure MPAs are effectively managed. The CTI-CFF MPA Working Group has ensured that a city marine protected area system, we call it CTMPAS, is in place and fully functional. The MPA Working Group assists the CT6 to identify and nominate CTMPAS comprising prioritized individual MPAs and networks of MPAs that are connected, resilient, and sustainably financed and designed in ways that generate significant income, livelihood, and food security benefit for coastal communities and conserve the region's rich biological diversity. Noting that the regional exchange could not take place this year, the CT6 member countries via the MPA Working Group had accepted the proposal of WWF through its EU Ocean Governance Project to recognize this virtual learning exchange. I do hope that through this virtual learning exchange, participants from member countries will be able to draw insights and inspiration from each country on how they effectively manage their MPAs. I also hope that this learning exchange will be an opportunity for participants to continue communicating and sharing best practice and lessons learned even beyond these activities in order to design and implement effective MPA networks that are resilient to human and environment threats. Again, allow me to extend my thanks to the organizers of the event, EU and WWF, as well as to the staff of the Regional Secretariat for their hard work and commitment. Thank you also to our participants for taking part in this noteworthy event. This virtual exchange will take 3 days, starting as per today, 3rd of November toward 5th of November. I hope we all will maintain our enthusiastic and energy to take part of the whole session of this learning exchange. I wish us a fruitful and interesting event. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lemieux, for your very nice welcoming words. So it's really a pleasure to share this opening session with you as technical coordinator of the EU Ocean Governance Project targeting marine protected areas. So we are really glad to be here today and in this first joint event with CTI that, as I will present now in my slides, you will understand better what is the context in which we organize the learning exchange. Just to say for those that are now joining us that our audience here is mainly the target audience is initially CTI-CFF people involved on marine protected areas, but not only, because this is an exchange happening with many other partners of the ocean governance that are based mainly in the Atlantic basin, but not only, because at the end you will see that during the 3 days you will have several presentations that are also from other areas, for instance, the Pacific. So it's I think we are doing like a worldwide exchange, but taking advantage of the great interest of CTI countries on learning and also sharing your experiences on marine protected areas management and conservation in general. So I'm going to begin to share my screen to briefly introduce the Ocean Governance Project for you to understand what is the background and what is the interest for the sessions of these 3 days. So I hope that you will be okay. So the ocean governance project, it's a project that the main objective is to increase the EU role as a global actor in international ocean governance by fostering regional and international cooperations that are relevant for the protection and restoration of marine and coastal ecosystems. So we have, as I already said, two main focal areas, the Atlantic region and the Southeast Asia region. The project is having a duration of 2 years, of 4 years, that means 48 months, and it starts at the beginning of 2020 and will end at the end of 2023. So the main purposes are to really move forward a process to leading enhanced cooperation of marine protected areas in and between the Atlantic and Southeast Asia region. So this is the main, this first purpose is the main reason of this exchange we are beginning today. Is also another purpose is to support the implementation of marine and coastal ecosystem restoration activity in the Southeast Asia region. This activity will be presented as well during one of our sessions. A third purpose is to facilitate broader regional cooperation on marine and coastal resilience in the Southeast Asia region in view to underpin the social stability. So that means connecting the value of what we do when we do good management and good activities for conservation in marine protected areas with the society that lives in and around those MPAs. And finally, to contribute to the effective management of those MPAs in both the Atlantic and Southeast Asia regions. So the project has this objective, I said, the 4 purposes, and it is composed by 4 components. Those 4 components that you see now in my screen, the first is targeting restoration of marine and coastal ecosystems in MPAs in Southeast Asia. The second is improve the management of marine protected areas around the Atlantic Ocean using the concept of shared environmental protection. So that means at the end, basically exchanges between managers. The third component is strengthening the knowledge exchange between the Atlantic and Southeast Asia marine and coastal regions. This is the main component that allows us to have the learning exchange today. And the fourth is improving basis for dialogue among marine and coastal stakeholders in the Southeast Asian region. That is also very relevant for the learning exchange. Moment. So for the first component, we have 3 main MPAs or 3 main geographic areas in the context of the Coral Triangle that will be the places in which we will develop the restoration activities. This will be presented during the restoration session, but just to introduce the overall project, the first one is in Tun Mustafa in Malaysia. The second one is in Indonesia, in Derawan Island. So these two, the one in Malaysia and Indonesia, we will be restoring mainly coral reefs. And there will be a third project in the Philippines, in Balabac, in which we will be restoring mainly mangroves. So as I say, this will be presented during the restoration session. So the second component is targeting the Atlantic basin, and it's a continuity and an enlargement of previous activity in another EU project that was called the EU Transatlantic MPA Network Project. And during this Transatlantic MPA Network Project, there were developed what we call 3 twinning projects. In fact, those are 3 partnership projects. I'm going to talk later on that. And it's about promoting the outreach and communication about the value of those exchanges and the contents of those exchanges between managers and networks of managers of marine protected areas. And in addition of the continuity of the previous topics, we will also include new ones, such as the restoration of coral reefs, as well the transboundary cooperation or the protection of marine turtles. So this is just to show you a first as a resume of the previous transatlantic MPA network project. And this project had, as I say, 3 sub-twinings. One was targeting the cooperation and common strategy between networks of managers. The second one was targeting coastal resilience and how to cope with rapid changes. And the third one was targeting marine mammals protection as a way to enhance transatlantic cooperation between marine protected areas. As you can see, the 3 topics are included in the agenda for this virtual learning exchange, and you will have the opportunity to learn from all those experiences from 2016 in this transatlantic MPA network project, and also identify elements that may be of interest to be applied in Southeast Asia. So the third component is this strengthened knowledge exchange between the Atlantic and Southeast Asia about marine and coastal aspects. So the first thing we had to do for here was to identify the actors and good practices. And for instance, the case of the Atlantic is basically what I present for component 2, the previous experience. But for Southeast Asia regions, we had to identify key relevant institutions. This is the case of CTI. That's for us is a very relevant partner to really develop the project activity in Southeast Asia, and also a partner that might take a lot of advantage of the exchanges with our experience in the Atlantic. So the idea of this component is bring together all this international and EU expertise on MPA management and on restoration, and share it in Southeast Asia, and also with other people that might join our events. So we have a very participative approach, and we work in a very different scale, from local, regional, and also basin dimensions. So we are at this component, we take into consideration aspects such capacity building. This is the case, for instance, of a learning exchange, communication, awareness raising, also an advocacy role in terms of promote the value of good management of marine protected areas, and the role of the actors, the role of the managers, the role of the networks of managers and other experts that really contribute to have good results on management. And also it's very important for us that the way we operate is participative. So that today we open the sessions to many people, not only those that are directly related with the project, or are those that are directly related with CTI activities. And we consider also the exchange on tools. You will see that in our sessions, some of them, we will be presenting certain management tools, for instance, to include marine mammals protection, or to include resilience as key elements for the management. So we will be presenting 2 tools that we develop. So we will be working in terms of topics on conservation, restoration, resilience, networking, transboundary cooperation, and also the sharing of scientific knowledge. So this is the first exchange under this component 4, and is also an exchange that is directly related with our component. This is the first exchange under component 3, and is directly related as well with component 4, which is this improved basis for dialogue amongst marine and coastal stakeholders in Southeast Asian region. The fact that we all co-organize this with CTI is the first step to really promote, use a regional, a relevant and recognized institution at regional level, such CTI CFS, as a very nice partner to really promote this regional cooperation. So we under this component 4, we analyze and evaluate different opportunities to improve prosperity, peace, and cooperation in the region. All this in the context of supporting the main targets that are today at international levels and regional levels for marine conservation. So I'm thinking mainly about the Convention on Biological Diversity, Convention on Migratory Species, and other regional agreements that may exist. So we will be supporting all those institutions that work for those targets. So, and this includes the organizations, as I say, as CTICFF or the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, that is also an institution we are planning to develop joint events with them. So one of the key elements for this component 4 for us is to apply the seascape and the migratory corridor approaches to promote this transboundary cooperation in the region. So I think this really fits very well in the context of the coral triangle. You are when we talk about the coral triangle, you are really talk about the seascape, and you also have already implemented there this idea of migratory corridor, in this case for marine turtles, but other migratory species may also benefit of that. So just to finalize the opening, let me just have a quick revision of our agenda for these 3 days that includes, as I said, different topics for exchanges. So today we will begin by exchanges around how we can support marine protected areas management at regional and national scales, and how we can develop this institutional supporting cooperation between countries mainly by networking. So we will you will see that this topic is distributed into different sessions. This session 1 today, and another session in Friday, session 1B, in November 5. And the reason is because we thought that you will really appreciate to hear from different examples in different regions of the world. So due to the different about the protection of this group of species in the Southeast Asia. Then the last session for tomorrow is targeting marine mammals, and we will be presenting, as I say, the tool for marine mammals linked to marine protected areas management. And then the last day, we have second part for this session on networking about how we support the cooperation between countries for MPA management at regional and national level. And the second session targeting the restoration of marine and coastal habitats in MPAs with examples from both the Atlantic and the Southeast Asia region. And the last session will be again on those agreements, as I say, in this case, examples from Europe. So this is just the summary. So I really thank for your attention on listening my presentation for the opening. And now let me just move towards the first session that, as I said, is about how we can support the managers at different scales, from supporting the managers at local level and in the MPAs, and how we can support as well the countries, the agencies or the responsible bodies of the countries at national level that are responsible for the management of, for instance, a national system or a national network of MPAs. So there are different examples of structures that works in the world that are devoted to bringing this support. So what we will do today is to see 2 examples. One is the example of a regional network of marine protected areas managers in the Mediterranean, which name is MEDPAN. And the second will be the presentation. Once you will have this view about how a regional network operates in bringing support to the managers and bringing support to the countries as well, we will move towards a larger scale, which is the scale of the experience in the Atlantic during the previous European Union Transatlantic MPA Network project. So you will see how different regional networks can really exchange and can take advantage one on the other to do more activities together and to really advocate in favor of investing on more resources and more management effort in our MPAs. So this is basically the introduction for the first session. And now, just you will see that I shift the order of the 2 presentations of this session because I think you will, and it will be better for you to begin by a regional dimension and then to move to the Atlantic exchanges to understand better what is the value of those Atlantic exchanges. So now I'm glad to give the floor to my colleague, Marie Romani. Marie, she's the Executive Secretary of MEDPAN, the Mediterranean Network of Marine Protected Areas Managers. She has been there since the beginning. And well, I must say, it's not my role here today, but I must say that I'm the chair of this network as well. So I know quite well my colleague, but Marie worked as well previously in other projects and on other networks on wetlands in France. So she has a good knowledge about what means supporting practitioners, supporting managers on the ground. So Marie, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Puri. Good morning or good afternoon to all of you. And I'm really glad to be here with you today. I will just share my screen so that you see the presentation. Can you see it? It's okay? Perfect. So some years ago, MEDPAN, that is the network of Mediterranean Marine Protected Areas Managers, started some exchanges beyond the Mediterranean with this transatlantic area, and Puri will present this just after my presentation. And I'm really glad to start those exchanges with Southeast Asia region. I have to tell you that personally, when I was young, I went with my parents in Indonesia, and I love to experience this marine environment there. That is quite different from the Mediterranean, but I really appreciate it. So here on this first picture, you can see many faces that are really people belonging to MEDPAN, to the network. Those are some MPA managers at local level. Over our MPA national agency, responsible from the MPA management in the different countries of the Mediterranean. And over in this picture are partners of the network that can be some NGOs or some scientists that really are working on MPAs and contributing to the network. So here is first a small, let's say, insight for you to know more about the MPAs in this Mediterranean region that goes from Spain on the left to Turkey on the right, and with all the European countries and non-European, North African and Middle East countries. And so we have updated a database that is jointly developed by MEDPAN and also by the SPARAC, that is the Regional Activity Center within the Barcelona Convention. That is a convention, Regional CIS Convention in the Mediterranean. And we recently updated this database, and you can see here all the MPAs of national statute, and also all the European Marine Natura 2000 sites that are some specific designation for the protection of birds and habitats. You can see also on this map a big triangle. This is not the coral triangle, but this is the Pelagos Sanctuary that I think will be presented those days. And we have also started to identify some potential over effective conservation measures like fisheries restricted areas and other sites of conservation interest like Ramsar sites or biosphere reserves or World Heritage sites that we have in the Mediterranean. So here on the map, just to let you know that there is, you can notice quite a difference between some, let's say, the northern part of the Mediterranean, where there are many MPAs, and the southern part, where there are many MPAs in project, but not yet declared. So MEDPAN is working really to help all those sites. In terms of figures, just to give you some, related to the CBD objective, we are in the Mediterranean today, so thanks to this last update of this big database, at around 8%. if we consider all the different status of MPA. If we consider only the national designated MPA, we are at around 3%. And then we have also worked a lot to study, let's say, the fully and strongly protected areas within all those MPAs, and we are at less than 1%. So it's quite a big challenge in the Mediterranean. And maybe also to say that mostly all the MPAs cover shallow waters. So then beyond the map, there are really what is going on all those MPAs in terms of management. And so we have led an interview with more than 250 MPA managers in the Mediterranean, because there are much more MPAs, but unfortunately, currently many MPAs on the 1,000 of MPA existing in the Med, many are just on paper, are paper parks. But we have some good MPA working well, but still we have analysis a lack of permanent and trained staff, lack of means, problem of funding, few management plans also for MPA, few also, let's say, scientific or monitoring and scientific baselines for most of the MPAs, and also weak surveillance and enforcement in many of the sites. So this is where MedPan is really playing a role to really help and support all those MPAs to really improve their management. And so maybe in general terms, let's say that thanks to the MedPan experience of more than 10 years now, we can see that this human network, because this is really a human network of MPA managers and other key partners, are essential catalysts for the, let's say, at the service of the ecological system of MPAs. And why? Because network like MedPan, we have really experienced that such a network can improve the MPA practical skills at really on the ground, at local level, but also help to address some common conservation and management issues. For example, when we are talking about mobile species conservation, it's really interesting to have this joint approach at a regional level, like in the Mediterranean, by joining forces of all the different individual MPAs together. And really those networks like MedPan, also we experienced in the past years that we can help building some communities of actors at this regional level. And I mean all the related MPA actors, the managers, the NGO, the scientists, the small-scale fishermen, the tourism operator, etc., etc. And an important also axis of the MedPan network and of many network is that this network that is really based on the ground experience can really help to support and inform policy and decision-making process by let's say bringing the voice of the people on the ground to really support and better inform all the different policy and decision-making process at for us in the Mediterranean, of course, at Mediterranean level, but also at EU level, European level, and at international level as well. So let's say that MedPan is really a strongly committed network of members and partners for more than 10 years. And I have to tell you that at the beginning, MedPan was starting from a project, and then it was the MPA manager themselves that really decided to sustain the network and create an organization really to animate this network. So MedPan is a dynamic human cooperation at this Mediterranean scale and beyond, that really transcend political barriers. That is really a key aspect in the region like the Mediterranean. It's also a science-based learning and adaptive organization with a very good bottom-up approach. So here you can see that today we are gathering 131 organizations that are members. Members are MPA managers, organizations that are in charge of MPA management, and partners that are organizations. We have a variety of different organizations that are partner, could be local, national, or regional organization, and could be NGOs, or could be more institutional organization with whom we are collaborating. And MedPan is covering 21 countries with all those members, members and partners. And this represents more than 100 managed MPAs. So here a little bit of insight into the governance model of MedPan. MedPan, so it's an organization with members, partners, and observers that form the General Assembly that meets every year and that approve all the, let's say, the action plan, the activity report, the budget, etc., and take the main big strategic axes. And recently, the General Assembly approved the new MedPan strategy. And we have a board of directors that is made of some members and partners. So as Puri told you, she's the president, and we have over committed members and partners that meet every month by phone. We have then a secretariat that is really the permanent staff of MedPan. And I would like to insist on this point because this is also an important aspect for our network, to have a team that facilitates really the exchanges between the members and the partners. So I am part of this secretariat, and we are a team of 9 people. And then we have other committee, like a scientific committee made of some key scientists, an advisory committee also made of our key strategic and financial partners that can advise the board of directors. And we have, depending on the different activities, some steering committee. More recently, we established also some thematic working group. Let's say that these are some networks in the network focusing on some key topics, like marine turtles and marine mammals. Some of my colleagues this week will come and will attend to present you our work on this. And we have also working group on financing of MPAs, really to support our members on this topic of sustainable financing that is critical for all MPAs, and also a working group on the fisheries. So here is just, let's say, in a small picture, the MedPan strategy, the key pillars, let's say, of our strategy. The first one, that is really the heart of the network, is to build capacities of MPAs, of MPA managers and MPA partners, and share solutions between the different MPAs of the Mediterranean to improve management. And behind this capacity building, we have different formats. Let's say we have some experience sharing workshop. We organize an annual workshop with all the MPA community. We have some training also with some smaller group of people that are trained. We develop some tools, also some video tutorials, some guidelines. And we have also a mechanism of small grants that is really interesting, and as MedPan can really go and attract some large funding, and then launch some call for small grants towards our members and partners. And in different projects in which we are involved, we support also some local pilot project with some innovative action. A second key pillar is really to build MPA knowledge to support management, but also to support the decision making and policy making. And beyond this, we have 2 databases. The first one I mentioned you earlier with this map, and we have a second one that, let's say, go beyond the map and really analyze the different management aspect of the MPAs of the networks. And every 4 years we produce, together with the SPARAG that I mentioned before, a status report really to know the situation of the MPAs. The third third axis is really to develop and to promote MPA policy in the Mediterranean and beyond. So as I mentioned you before, we are coordinating MPA voices to really bring the MPA voice at Mediterranean, European, and even international level. And we co-organize a kind of process that is held every 4 years that is called the MPA Forum. And this forum is much larger than, let's say, only the MPA managers, as we are bringing the whole MPA community, even the socioeconomic sectors, the donors, all the related actors. And together we develop a roadmap that is, let's say, a joint document to really implement all the different international and Mediterranean strategy in the at local level in the Mediterranean. So I think I don't know if I have much time, but maybe I don't go into details. Just to tell you that in terms of capacity building, we have a kind of complementary range of tools, and it's starting from big regional workshop, regional training, thematic groups that I mentioned, to guidelines and more smaller field exchange visit and operational training. Recently, we have some MPAs in the Mediterranean, actually 5 MPAs that accept to play the role of MPA training centers. That means that of course, MedPan, we facilitate this, but there are some MPA managers that are willing to welcome other MPAs on some key topics and to train them. This I will not go, of course, into details, but just to tell you that in terms of support policies, we are really interesting at all the different level, from the local to the international. And maybe I can just add that for the Mediterranean and European level, we are working a lot in synergy with some other key Mediterranean partners. I mentioned the SPARAC. There is also the IUCN Mediterranean Center. There is the WWF and other key partners. And at international level, we are really joining forces with other regional networks of MPA managers, especially at transatlantic scale. This is just a picture to show you this forum process that I mentioned before, and we are organizing soon the 3rd edition of this forum. And of course, you are welcome. This will be a hybrid event organized in Monaco and also online. And I think that maybe some of the session could be of interest for you. And just to conclude, just to say that for us, it's really interesting and important to first to support and build synergies with other networks of MPA managers. Also in the Mediterranean, there are some new or existing or emerging networks of MPA managers at national level, for example, in France, in Croatia, in Spain, and also at sub-regional level, like in the Adriatic, that is a sub-region in the Mediterranean. I mentioned also the importance to have some, let's say, thematic networking to focus on some subject. And for us, it's also key to have some, let's say, some synergies beyond the Mediterranean, especially through this, through the EU Ocean Governance Project, with other networks of MPA managers at transatlantic. And now I'm really glad this exchange with the Southeast Asia. And more recently, maybe just to mention that we were part of the launch of a new global marine alliance for marine protection that is also supported by the Ocean Governance Project, and that gather networks of MPA managers, but also conservation trust funds and networks of trust funds to really be some tools and mechanism to really support the post-2020 targets for MPA. And thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Marie. I know that it's really challenging to summarize what MedPan is doing, but I think your presentation really provides to the participants today in this session a very nice overview of what a regional network of MPA managers can do to really support those managers, but also to be a good spokesperson on behalf of those managers in different fora. You told a lot about the regional dimension, but as well the European dimension, which is bigger, or the larger dimensions, such the international one. And what's the value of having these connections from a regional network with other networks? And this is exactly what I'm going to share now with our participants today. Is what we develop in the transatlantic exchanges. So I just to say to the public that after my presentation, we will have a time for questions and answers. So normally this will be around 25-30 minutes. So you will have the time to ask any doubt, any question you may have. So I'm going to share now my presentation. Okay. So as I initially said, this is about what we call the twinning between MPA networks of managers. More than a twinning, because when you think about twinning, you think immediately about two, and it's not about two, but a lot more than two. Is a partnership. So what's the background of this partnership? I already mentioned in my first introduction that component 2 of the Ocean Governance Project is somehow a continuity of a previous project of the European Union that was targeting the Atlantic to promote cooperation between managers of MPAs in countries and territories across the Atlantic. So the main objective was to exchange and share best practices to improve this effective management of MPAs. So in this context, we developed, as I already said, 3 partnership projects we call twinning projects. And one of them is this cooperation and common strategy between MPA networks of managers in the Atlantic region. So initially, those that are in orange were the initial partners. So there were 6 partners that were 4 of them regional networks. You just heard about one of them, MEDPAN in the Mediterranean, but there was also involved with CAMPAM in the Caribbean. There was involved with NAMPAM in North America, and there was involved with RAMPAO in West Africa. Those were the 4 partners that work at the regional scale, but we were very interested in not just limiting the scale of the work, but also exploring how this networking approach to support managers was happening at national level, and what kind of connections could be established to really be more effective in supporting those managers by connecting national networks with regional networks. So this first project, we include 2 national agencies or national networks, the French Biodiversity Agency and Fundación Biodiversidad in Spain. We had the first very quick phase between January 2016 and April 2018, in which we had 2 exchanges happening in Monte Carlo and in Tenerife. And in these exchanges, what we did was mainly the objective, because we began from, I will not say 0, because we already had exchanges in the past, but we didn't have the opportunity to have a project that support this networking between networks. So the objective of the first exchanges was to design, strengthen the existing MPA networks and support their common actions. So it included 2 dimensions, technical and advocacy components, with the aim to identify what were the key actions that those networks were doing to support effective management of MPAs, and showcase the value of working with those networks in a transatlantic scale. So the idea was also to raising the profile of what the networks are doing and contribute towards the resource mobilization for future networking. So I must say, as the president of a network and now the coordinator of this specific partnership, that when you go to the donors, they don't always understand the value of this networking. And this was one of the objectives of also working together. So we wanted also to develop a joint strategy and also connect with other MPAs that maybe they never had the opportunity to exchange with networks. And also the idea of these multiple dimensions of our work was to reinforce the national MPA networks, and that sometimes there is a regional network, but there is not national networks, and we consider that really this can really help a lot in improving the quality of the management. We have a second phase from June 2018 until December 2019, in which we had the opportunity to meet 3 times in Palma de Mallorca in Spain, in Santo Domingo in Dominican Republic, and Viana do Castelo in Portugal. So at the end, we had this common strategy between the networks, and this strategy was designed with 4 axes. The first axis was to share information, knowledge, and tools. The second axis was building the network capacity, and how the networks also build capacity with the managers. So this has two directions under this axis. And then the third axis was how we develop this advocacy or policy support role, how we support the countries to implement this international agenda for MPAs, and the 4th axis was on financing. So during the first project, we work a little bit on financing. We work developing a little strategy for the sustainable financing of networks. We developed this policy support and advocacy by participating in several international events and processes. And we had the support from a student of the University of Iceland to identify thematic issues and specific issues regarding the 2 first axes. But we didn't develop, in fact, all the axes. So just to give you an overview regarding this advocacy and policy support, we were working together at the UN Ocean Conference, and we took the floor in the plenary to talk about the importance of investing of good management of MPAs and the importance of the networks to support this good management. We were also all together during the International Marine Protected Areas Congress 4 in Chile, and we developed a lot of activities there presenting what the networks are doing. We launched a call for networks of MPAs during the high-level segment of this Impact 4 Congress. So this is just a summary, but we really wanted to continue, and we were very happy when the Commission launched the EU Ocean Governance, because this allows this partnership to continue and to even enlarge. So this is what we are doing today. So you have here all partners I already mentioned, but during the EU Ocean Governance, we expand the number of partners at both levels, the regional level and the national level, with including regional key partners such as OSPAR Treaty in the Northeast Atlantic, HELCOM in the Baltic. We have also Red Parques, the Marine and Coastal Group that operates in all Latin America. We have the Patagonian Forum, and we have also very recently the Red Golfo that operates in the Gulf of Mexico area joining us. Then as national partners, we have the NOAA from the US. In fact, NOAA was very involved from the beginning, not as NOAA, but as representing NAMPAM, the network from North America. We have also the CONAMP from Mexico, National Natural Parks from Colombia, the Dominican Republic Biodiversity Directorate, the Department of Rocha in Uruguay, Océanos Sanos as well in Uruguay, the National Parks and the Community MPAs of Senegal. And we have recently been contacted by Parks of Gabon that they also wish to join the network. So as you can see, we are expanding this networking approach across the Atlantic. Unfortunately, I cannot show you any nice picture as the previous ones in different places. We had only the opportunity to meet online, as all of us we are doing across the pandemic. So what are the target activities under the ocean governance for this partnership? So we have 2 target areas. One is structural, and is giving the continuity to the previous transatlantic project with the aim to strengthen the existing MPA networks at regional and national level. So this is mainly and how we can really enhance the MPA network's role on policy support advocacy and on fundraising. Those are the key elements of the network's strategy. And the other dimension that we couldn't develop in the past, which just identify common thematic actions, is more technical. And those are the first two axes I already mentioned. And is, for instance, we are identifying how the networks can support the activity of the other two partnerships or twinnings on restoration of marine mammals, but also, on resilience and marine mammals, but also on restoration, on financing. And this is what we call the intertwinning activity that creates more synergies inside the ocean governance project, but also helps the networks to acquire new capacities on all those topics that they can apply with their communities in the different regions and different countries. So, and also we wanted to develop a specific activity exploring the role of the MPA networks of managers in addressing marine turtle conservation and management within MPAs, management for those marine turtles. So I say those are the same axes I told. So examples, the first issue was enlarging the partnership. I already say this, that you saw the new list of partners. But we are also supporting a lot the partners' activity. Here, just two examples. We are participating recently in the series of webinars organized by the Patagonian Forum. We are also supporting the Mediterranean Forum of Marine Protected Areas. We will be, all the different partners of the twinning will be participating virtually in one of the sessions of the forum that is targeting specifically the role and the value of having a network to really support the managers and how those networks can really make the difference. And then in terms, for instance, of sharing information, knowledge and tools and building capacity. So I already told you about the topics on marine turtles, financing instruments, but also we have in our list of topics, climate change, ocean and health, the management effectiveness, which is a very key issue that is today into debate at the international level, for instance, at the CBD. So also the integration of the other two twinnings. And we want not just work between the, let's say, the coordinators or the leaders of the twinnings. We want that our activities, when we are talking about thematic issues, can be also of interest or can be of benefit for the managers. So we identify different levels of audience for our capacity building activities. So those are, for instance, two examples on this sharing information, knowledge and tools and building capacity of that activities we developed during this year, 2021. One was targeting the sharing of all the activity and the tool on resilience that have been developed by the resilience twinning. You will have the opportunity to learn about this in the next session today. We had another, for instance, series of webinars in which we share with our partners or managers, but also was open to a larger audience to share the progress on global and standardized criteria for important marine turtle areas and marine turtle protection. And this was, for instance, co-organized with two of our partners, MEPAN and the French Biodiversity Agency. In terms of policy support, we have been following, for instance, all the CBD process, especially the issue related to marine protected areas. And we are especially involved with the Sustainable Ocean Initiative, and it's a global dialogue in which we really contribute and provide inputs from different regions and from the perspective of the managers. We also are linked with other initiatives, such IMPANA, promoted by IUCN, or the Marine Protected Areas Partnership that includes different partnership of agencies. We exchange with regional and national and trust funds and networks of trust funds. And we want to really strengthen those linkages between regional and national networks. We also support regional seas conventions. And we want to develop our fundraising strategy, for instance, with this new alliance for marine protection with trust funds that my colleague Marie already mentioned. So despite the pandemic, we had a great opportunity during the World Conservation Congress in Marseille last September, in which we could participate in several workshops, side events, and even the launch of new initiatives. Some of our partners were presential, but most of them were participating virtually. So this gives really the sense that we are a large network across the Atlantic. And this was the opportunity to launch, for instance, this global alliance, in which the aim is to work from both sides, the networks of MPA manager side and the conservation trust funds, to really mobilize more resources, not just for networking, but also more resources for MPA management. I already talked about this intertwining activity internally with our other colleagues working on other topics, restoration, marine mammal resilience, and financing. And for us, it's very important, this is just my last slide, it's very important, the opportunity to share all this experience of exchanges in the Atlantic now in Southeast Asia. So we really hope that participating, having the participation of our networks of this twinning in the exchanges, we have those days with CTI, but future events we will organize with other institutions, as I say, as the Asian Biodiversity Center, other key actors we may contact in the region. We can really expand this approach of networking to really help to connect the ground dimension of the managers that are taking care every day of the MPAs with the national dimension, and especially the regional and the international dimensions. So often the big targets of the CBD are not easily understood by the managers, and the demands and the needs of the managers that knows what is going on biodiversity and the species on the habitats are not always very well represented in the big negotiations. So the connecting all those dimensions is really crucial. So I finalize with this, and I think now we have 25 minutes for our debate, and I'm glad to open the floor. I don't know if we can really see if there are any questions from the participants. Please raise your hand. I don't see any hand raised by the moment. Yeah, I see one. No, it disappeared.
Yes, if you can give the floor to Mr. Martin.
Yeah, Martin Welly from CTC.
Thank you. Thank you, Furi, for the opportunity. As you know, that my name is Martin Welly for Coral Triangle Center, or CTC. Very good presentation, and then sharing lesson learned from our colleagues in Mediterranean and Europe, and also Atlantic area related with the MPA network. I think we are agreed that the capacity building is one of the key components to sharing knowledge as well as the skill to others, MPAs, managers within the network. The question that I would like to know is, could you more elaborate what type of the platform you use in the Mediterranean MPA networks to the capacity building? Did you develop the new platform between those MPA managers, or you are using the existing capacity building providers in the regions and then you just strengthen or using that platform to sharing the knowledge from the MPA management, or there is another type of platform that you use for the capacity building in that region? I think that's my question, Puri. Hopefully you can get my point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think Marie, you can respond to that. Thanks a lot, Martin.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Martin. And maybe I can answer that there are different axes and aspects that you mentioned. Maybe to say that, of course, we build our capacity building program as on the existing capacity building activities of our partners, for example, because we play a kind of coordinator of the different training and capacity building offers for MPA managers to really better inform the MPA managers that are in the network. So I don't know, for example, if WWF has a training on this, we will inform the MPA. And we set up a steering committee with all the different key organizations in the Mediterranean that deliver some training that could be of interest of MPAs. And the steering committee is discussing regularly. In addition to that, MedPan, we also developed in collaboration with some of the MPAs that I told you play a kind of role of MPA training center. We developed some training offers, some training modules, and let's say a kind of training cursus on some key topics. And we have developed those courses and those modules based on the needs that we have identified for MPA managers, and based on the, let's say, the gaps, because for some of the topics there were no training existing, and so we developed this with some consultant, and we have some, as I said, some MPA managers that are really collaborating to develop those training modules. And then when you speak about platform, maybe you also mention some online platform, and for this also we are rethinking now and redeveloping our website, because of course, as everywhere now, and usually the website is a key tool, and we will launch soon our website, and we hope this could be a kind of tool really useful and interactive as much as possible for the MPA managers and other MPA partners to find information and to find tools, and also to present this catalog of training offered by either by MedPan directly or by some partners. And moreover, in terms of capacity building, we organize a lot. We facilitate a lot the exchanges, and this could be exchanges at regional level or smaller level exchange visits. Also in the past we organized some small twinning between two MPAs, or exchange visit could be between 5 or 6 MPAs. So just to say that there is a kind of diversity of different tools and offers for capacity building. I hope I answer.
Thank you, Marie. I think you answer. I see another hand. Yeah, Dr. Nora. So please, you have the floor. Connect your camera as well. Dr. Nora Ibrahim, can you hear me? You raise your hand. No.
Right, okay, sorry.
Yeah, now, yes, now we hear you. Please.
Okay. All right, so thank you very much for this very exciting and full of insight presentations by both Dr. Puri and by Ms. Marie. My question would be on, could you please elaborate on what you presented just now on the Conservation Trust Fund, where you find the fund from sources, and then you disperse to the MPAs, and what's the mechanism, and as well as which ones are your implementing and executing agencies? Thank you.
Thanks. Do you want to develop it, Marie? You work a lot in that data,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah. Maybe just to start by saying that MedPan and other key partners for some years we had this idea, and we support the idea of developing a conservation trust fund for MPAs in the Mediterranean, and this was finally this dream come true some years ago with the establishment of a conservation trust fund. The name is the Med Fund, and it's based in Monaco. And the MedPan is one of the members of the board of this fund. And there are also some countries, some governments that are in the board and funding member, and some other organization and NGOs. And so really this Med Fund is really the idea is to support long-term on the long term some financing recurrent cost of MPAs, of several MPAs in the Mediterranean at really local level. And we develop a very good collaboration with the MedFund, between MedFund and the MedPan in the Mediterranean. We have developed also a JEF project that will soon start. And based on this experience and this complementarity between a network of MPA managers and the conservation trust fund that support MPAs, and also based on the transatlantic twinning that was presented by Puri, and based also with some past exchanges during some the Impact 4 Congress, for example, this International MPA Congress in Chile. We exchange a lot with other trust funds, other conservation trust funds in West Africa, in Latin America especially, and came the idea to really promote more this complementarity between networks of MPA managers and conservation trust fund. There are also networks of conservation trust fund. There is one in Latin America called Red Lac and one in Africa called CAFE. And the idea is really to join forces and synergies to support this implementation of the post 2020 global targets, and so really to support MPAs in terms of capacity building that is bring by especially by the networks of MPA managers, and in terms of sustainable financing that is bring by the conservation trust fund. So there is a good alliance. And the idea also is to join forces to really support policy thanks to the different region where there are some experience of the trust fund and of the network. So really this global alliance is really quite recent. It was launched during the IUCN Congress in Marseille, and we really hope to enlarge it and to make it work well.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I just can add that we didn't go yet into the details because, in fact, we were working with no rush because it was nice to begin to exchange. But then there was the opportunity during the World Conservation Congress to have two sessions on that one inside and the other as a side event. And we thought that was the right moment to move, and we decided to launch, and now we have planned a series of meetings to really define a specific agenda in the details on how we can operate. But as Marie said, the idea is to take advantage of the different capacities. The conservation trust funds are professional bodies for the mobilization of resources and passing the resources to key actors that really use the resources to have objectives on conservation. And the networks of MPA managers are not especially experts on mobilization of big amounts of resources, but are experts on the implementation on supporting actors that really implement key conservation measures at national or regional level. So connecting these two dimensions may bring a lot of trust to donors, because one of the things we identify, especially during the transatlantic phase, when we, as networks of MPA managers, we had this financing objective that I presented earlier. And when we were approaching donors to really say, okay, look, what we do is really important for biodiversity. We are really responding to the international agenda, to the needs of the countries and the needs of local communities. So we are playing a key role. But we understood that this was not easily, I'm not saying accepted, but understood, because people is very target oriented to the end action, and not necessarily understands all the operational dimensions that are behind, that this what the networks are playing. So we had a challenge to really convince the donors and that they trust us. And when we had the opportunity to develop this joint project with the Mediterranean Trust Fund and MedPan, and mobilize resources from the GEF, this shows us that this is probably a good formula to really mobilize higher amounts and to target two dimensions: the sustainability of the funding by one side, managed by the Conservation Trust Fund, and investing important amounts on capacity building for managers. So this, let's say, new experience can be now extrapolated or applied by other networks and other conservation transfers. So the idea is to share all those experiences and to be able to mobilize more resources at the end for MPA management. I don't know if there are other questions. I should remind you that you can ask in any of the different languages. We have translation. That means Bahasa Indonesia, French, Spanish, and obviously in English. Don't be shy, please. We still have 10 minutes for exchanges. Well, since there are not initially more questions, maybe I would like to stress that maybe to share a little bit about the history of MedPan and the connection now with the ocean governance. So I've been in MedPan since MedPan was created in 2008, and it begins to work in 2009. And you know what? At the beginning, I was proposed to be the chairperson of this network. Most of my friends say, okay, are you crazy? You will waste your time in a network of managers in the Mediterranean. This will never work. So what's the point of it? So that's not something that may be useful and may not be effective. So I had obviously a different view as Marie. And today it's clear that this works. And not only that it works, is that it really helped the managers to work better. So, and in fact, for our experience, what we can say today when we talk about networks of managers of marine protected areas is that this is an intermediate structure that really helps to implement the policies. So the policies are not only implemented when a country incorporates in its law what has been agreed at the CBD. It's obviously the first step. It's absolutely necessary. But then this has to be downloaded on the ground, on the action. And to download those targets on the action, we need to really have managers with the capacity on many different issues that not necessarily they have been trained previously, because every year there are new challenges. For instance, when we talk about climate change, I'm sure that 90% of the managers were not trained when they were doing their studies at university or other technical institutions. They were not trained on how to include climate change, coastal resilience into a management plan for an MPA. So all those new issues are very difficult to be addressed by the classical institutions, especially because it's not that they don't want, it's that they often don't have the budget to do it. So when there is a network, either at national scale or at regional scale, the network can really provide a platform for capacity building, as we say in the examples, and the previous question was very targeting this, that provides a platform for fast learning. You don't need to send back your managers to a training institution for 1 year. You are really addressing the key issues that are more urgent, that they are really well trained to apply immediately. And the best way to do this is by exchanges and learning from other managers, or for scientists that work with managers. So this connection with management and science knowledge and science research is really critical to have faster solutions for the very important challenges we have today when we talk about marine conservation in the context of a marine protected area. So I think we need to explain to the politicians, we need to show to the donors that investing in networking between managers is the most efficient way to invest money to really change the capacity to act and to protect species and to protect habitats. So this is not a luxury. It's not just for fun. I cannot hide that we have fun as well. So we really love meeting each other. You will not see any picture from our meetings in which people is sad. So we really enjoy, because where we, as human beings, we really need to feel that we are part of a community. And this has not been said, neither in my presentation, neither in Marie's, but I think this is very important, because when we talk, not at the technical dimension, but at the human dimension with managers of marine protected areas, we often identify, most of them, they say that they feel very alone, they feel very isolated. This is in part because working in the marine domain favorizes isolation and more distance that if you work in land-based protected areas. But it's also because there is not a very strong support, and they cannot connect with others. When you open the possibility for those managers to share their experiences with other managers, you create a community. And this community brings not only technical support, but also human and emotional support to the managers. They know that they can rely on others when they have a problem. If in the Mediterranean, you can imagine the Mediterranean is very diverse. For instance, you have people from the most developed countries in Europe, but you have people from other developing countries, and all of them are connected today. So this is a great advantage for those managers to feel that they are part of a community. And our role in the Ocean Governance Project, and specifically in the twinning of the networks, is to enlarge this community worldwide. In the Atlantic now, with all of you in Southeast Asia, but other networks and other people working with networks are welcome, because we're convinced that this is one of the faster ways to really change our capacity to protect marine ecosystems and marine protected areas. So I don't see if there is any other question. Okay, if there are no more questions, I don't know, Marie, if you want to add anything else?
No, I think you were inspiring. So
I see, it seems that Hesti Guidodo from CTC also raised a hand. So Hesti, you are welcome, please.
Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to have clarification on the nature of the MPA personnel joining the MedPan. Are they the governing civil servants, or there are more like state-owned or the private managed MPA? What is the nature of the characteristic of the MPA managers joining this network? And how actually their engagement, is it individual or the organization, actually the whole organization joining this network? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I think it's a very important point. Let's say that mainly the member of MedPan are the organization that is member, and formally this organization is represented by someone in the organization. That can be the director of the organization in charge of the MPA, so the director of the MPA management body, let's say. But let's say that also during the different events or technical exchanges of MedPan, you can have also some arrangers. You can have the scientific officer of the MPA management body. I don't know, you can have the communication officer. So depending on the different technical exchanges, you can have the whole range of the MPA management body team. But generally, let's say that the director of the management body is the one that attend maybe the official meeting of MedPan, maybe the General Assembly or other technical meetings as well. But let's say that there is also a kind of diversity in the Mediterranean, because when I speak about MPA management body, depending on the different countries, MPA management body can be different. For example, in several, mostly, let's say in some European countries, the MPA management structure is quite decentralized. So you can have the MPA management body that can become member of MedPan, or, for example, the national park. Could be also in Italy, for example, some city or consortium of city. In Croatia could be region. So it's more decentralized. Even if, for example, the national park, for example, are really supervised by the national state. The government, but then they have a kind of decentralization in terms of decision making for the MPA, and we can have a other situation, for example, in Northern Africa, the management of MPA is more centralized by a national agency. But you can have also this in France. I mean, depending on the status of MPAs and depending on the countries, you have different forms. And you can have also in some countries some NGOs that are really engaged in co-management or that are really taking the role of managers of some MPAs. And we have this example in Turkey, for example. And but at the end, what we try to do in MedPan is really to involve all of the different type of MPA management body, and within each management body, that could be local, national, etc., we try to involve the whole range of, for example, for trainings, we try to involve the whole range, I mean, the ranger of the MPA, the scientific officer, so all the staff of the management body.
Thanks, Marie, and thanks, Hesti, for the question. It makes me also think that this diversity, it not only appears inside each network, but also when we compare different networks, you will perceive this diversity of ways of working and constituencies when you will listen at the presentations of tomorrow in the other session under the same topic. You meet other networks, and each network has its own identity, and it's adapted to each context. Some of them are managed by international, by regional institutions. Others have a specific management system as MedPan, as an association. So I think what is important is that we are recognizing the diversity all the time. We protect biodiversity, but we accept this diversity as part of our way of working, and that allows us to adapt to the best solution in each context. So maybe MedPan will not work well in the Coral Triangle area, but the Coral Triangle area will find the best model for the members and the managers here. So I think this is the secret, is to just build on what is there and what is needed and what the people wants to do together. And from here, we can exchange and share experiences and learn a lot each other. So thanks a lot for your question. I don't see any other hand raised, so we are on time. We are 8:30, time we promised to finish. So we really thank for your participation, and we invite you to be here for the next session that will be about the presentation of the resilience tool we have developed under the resilience training project. And we also hope to see you tomorrow and after tomorrow. So thanks a lot and have a nice day or evening, depending on where you are. Thanks a lot. See you later.